What if the problem was never your willpower? What if your body wasn't asking for more discipline, but for trust, safety, and peace? Today's guest spent decades doing everything right, diet after diet, loss after loss, gain after gain, until she finally stopped chasing the scale and started healing at the root. So, this episode is for every woman who's tired of fighting her body and ready to make peace with it.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction, it's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
So, welcome back to the podcast. We're so glad you're here. This show exists for women who are tired of dieting, tired of starting over, and tired of feeling like their body is a problem to fix. Here we talk about freedom from diet culture, sustainable health that actually fits real life, and what it looks like to care for your body using both science and faith without shame, extremes, or burnout.
If you've spent most of your life doing all the right things, counting, restricting, pushing harder, starting over again, this conversation is for you. Especially if you're in midlife, busy, carrying a lot of responsibilities, and wondering why what used to work doesn't work anymore. So many women feel like they should have figured this out by now, and yet here they are, still frustrated. But you're not alone.
In today's episode, we have an invitation to stop striving and start trusting, to loosen your grip, get just enough to let your body breathe again. This conversation isn't about fixing yourself. It's about learning a new relationship with food, your body, and your health. Consider this your permission slip to approach healing with curiosity, compassion, and hope.
Today, we're thrilled to be chatting with our friend and fellow coach, Karen Lynne Knaup. She's a certified health and lifestyle coach whose journey from decades of dieting to true peace with food is going to resonate deeply with you. Welcome to the show, Karen Lynne.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm genuinely glad to be here.
We're happy to have you here too. Now, I purposely didn't highlight too much of your story because it's so powerful in your words. So will you take just a few minutes to share with us and our audience the highlights of your story as it relates to body shame and your transformation?
Sure. I often joke that I came out of the womb a Weight Watcher. I was raised in diet culture. My mom was always tracking her weight. And by elementary school, I already knew the protein sizes and good versus bad foods. I would quote unquote good versus bad food.
Right.
Yeah.
I was active. I was a dancer. I did gymnastics, but I never felt skinny enough. In high school, dance was my life. And I was named captain of the dance team my senior year in high school. And our new coach pulled me aside and told me that I needed to start eating salads because she was not going to take a fat captain to state competition.
Can't believe that.
It was crazy. At that moment, my body became my problem that I had to solve.
Oh, gosh.
And then I went to college and I married my husband, who was studying to be a chef. And having gone from the family, my mom being concerned about my weight, to moving into a sorority house, it was like, again, more eyeballs on your weight. And then I moved in with my husband, a chef who didn't actually care what I weighed, which was a first thing that was new to me. And he introduced me to things like real butter and cream sauce. And not long after
it's delightful.
it was just like, wow, what's all this stuff about? But then I tried on my clothes for student teaching. And 6 months after marrying my husband, those clothes were not going on my body anymore. They did not fit. And I absolutely panicked. I just panicked. And I signed up for my first medical weight loss program. I was going serious. I was going big guns. I had done all the other things, but I was going real this time, right? And I realized that anyone can wear a lab coat. They're not
Yes.
necessarily a
Oh.
medical professional, but yeah, I drank chocolate shakes for 6 months, and I honestly did not chew for 6 months.
Wow.
The weight came off, and so
Yeah.
did all of my hair.
Oh, right.
I
Exactly.
I was finally skinny, but I was anything but healthy. Over the next few decades, I repeated the same cycle, losing and regaining larger amounts each and every time until I finally just swore off dieting. I ate healthy, but my weight kept creeping up. I started adapting my life around my body and not caring for it. And when I couldn't climb the stairs to bed without needing a recovery break or even put my socks on without strange contortions, I knew something had to change. And then, right about then, my doctor shared that he was concerned about my ongoing weight gain. And he also shared problems with my blood work, which was new. I had fatty liver disease and high triglycerides. And I had upcoming rotator cuff surgery. And I knew that reducing inflammation would promote healing. So I decided this blood sugar stabilization thing made sense, and I would try one more time. Now my relationship with food has replaced obsession. Systems has replaced chaos, and I feel calm in my body. And this is something, it's not something I'm doing, it's who I am.
Doesn't that feel good though?
You know, because I lived on a diet roller coaster so
Right.
long, I knew I had to help other women find a way out too, because
Yep.
this just has changed my life, and it's actually changed every part of my life, not just my size and my shape, but who I am, my confidence level, all of it.
Everything. That's why we call it freedom, right? Wow. The things we do, the things that we think are good for us, and they just destroy our bodies.
They
Yeah.
do.
Can you share a little bit about that moment when you realized that your body didn't need more discipline? It didn't need to just drink its food, that you needed a new relationship with food and stress and stuff.
Well, I wasn't afraid of discipline, honestly, at all. Discipline really gave me a false sense of control. I was a professional dieter. I kept food journals for a decade, not an app, spiral notebooks. I wrote down everything, weigh-ins, measurements, points, calories, all of it. I even moved all of those journals cross country when we relocated. They were family heirlooms of some sort. It was crazy.
Your Bible.
And at some point it hit me that those notebooks were proof that the diets didn't work, because they tracked the same losses and gains that I'd been going through.
Yeah.
And I was still blaming myself. It wasn't a lack of effort. It was a broken relationship with my body. And the big moment for me that you asked me about was when I took that stack of notebooks and I threw them in the recycle bin.
Oh my
I wasn't
gosh.
quitting on myself. I was quitting on the idea that those rules would finally make my body cooperate.
I remember I used to keep mine in an Excel spreadsheet and my weights. And when I went to delete that Excel, it was like breaking up with a family member or something. It
becomes a part of who you are, or your self-worth, or proof that you're doing something that you should do.
Proof that I'm trying. Proof that I'm not lazy. Proof that in actuality, it was a proof that I was a sucker by the diet industry. That I got sucked right in. Just like everybody else. Not like, again, I'm not blaming myself for that. It's just part of our fabric of our society. I hope that that's really changing, and I have a feeling it's going to.
You say that you have been with one train of thought and now you're hoping that changes. I couldn't agree with you more. You've touched on a little bit, but what specifically did discipline look like you for back then? And how is it different now? Just so that people who have been or who currently are where you are can see what the other side looks like now.
Well, back then, discipline meant making food behave. Weighing, measuring, counting, tracking, constantly negotiating with my body was the enemy. This battle with my body all the time. And I'm married to a chef, and I would literally bring my own food to the dinner table. When my boys were little, we'd talk about going out to eat, and they would ask at 6 years old, is there something their mom can eat if we go to that restaurant?
Oh.
And that's not health, that's captivity. Now, however, discipline looks like devotion. It's systems that support me and support my life and don't punish it. I fuel my body with food I enjoy, and I move because I love my body, not because I'm mad at it. And I learned this the hard way. Discipline without grace is just punishment.
So once you realize that, what you just said, discipline without grace is just punishment, how did your body respond when you stopped punishing it?
Well, real discipline isn't even about punishment. It's about choices that lead to freedom. And that's what I feel like my body felt free. I felt like I could finally listen to my body for the first time in my life. Instead of battling my body, we became partners. We were on the same team, working for the same goal. And the change showed up fast, even before the scale ever would have proved it. Cravings calmed down. My energy was stabilized. My joint pain disappeared. I could climb my stairs without needing a recovery break at the top. I started waking up before my alarm clock with energy, ready to face the day and excited. And really, that caused me to feel a little bit suspicious. Who is this woman?
Right? Yeah.
Where did
you
she
know
come
her?
from? And where has she been my whole life? Right? And then a few days after I started, I had rotator cuff surgery. And even then I knew I'm never going back, because the best part wasn't weight loss. It was peace, momentum, and healing.
That's so powerful.
It is.
How did you find the PFC3 program?
I honestly have no clue. It happened sometime in the middle of the night when I must have gotten up to use the restroom, picked up my phone and was scrolling, and I clicked on something and I signed up for something and I watched something, and I have no idea
But it was a life changer for you.
It was absolutely a life changer, and I'm sure.
I wanted to highlight a couple of nuggets that you said in there.
Yeah.
When you talked about making food behave, how many of us have spent most of our lives trying to do that? Right. But it's not about that. It's about what our body needs and how to fuel our body with the food that's out there, whether you're eating with a chef or eating a Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I love when you said discipline without grace, because you're all about grace. And that grace is really what makes it's not discipline as in punishing, but discipline as in directing, right?
Yes, 100%.
What you want.
Wow. All right. So many busy women feel like they have to choose between their health goals or a full life. And oftentimes that full life is like, I'm out with friends, we're going out to dinner, we're going to parties, we're dancing, kind of things like that, and just really going out and living life. And I think a lot of times, especially in the diet culture, those busy women who want that full life don't see that they can also choose health goals. So what can help them believe that they actually can choose health goals and have a full life?
That's the crux of the dieting industry lie. That's really it. That health requires all or nothing. That you're either all in or you're all out, and you have to pick a side. And that's not it at all. Real health and real, it has to work in real life. Your plan has to work on Tuesday. Your plan has to work when you go out with your girls. And hey, if you're dancing, you're moving your body. You don't have to necessarily go to a fitness class. It's all part of life, right? And that's it. It's just seeing this as your life. That's what I'm talking about. It's not something you do. It's who you are. And that's possible for that to happen. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be repeatable. You just need system habits, and that makes all the difference. And that reduces the stress in all of your life. I often joke that who knew I needed a nutrition program to get a hold of my laundry?
Right.
Every aspect of my life. Laundry used to be the bane of my existence because we have an Airbnb. So I'm doing all kinds of laundry all day long. I would go to make the bed and open it and realize, I forgot to put the clothes in the dryer and I don't have dry sheets. It was like this constant. Now it's just a system, and it takes up zero brain space. And so that helps in every aspect of my life, not just with food, but creating systems and habits that just make your life work freely is going to help those busy women. They're going to excel in their careers. It's just wonderful. And then it's just developing just non-negotiables. Stabilize your energy, stabilize your blood sugar, help you to just create systems and habits that help you portioning your food when you get home from the store. There's just all kinds of things you can do that allow you to not only live a busy life, but to thrive within that busy life.
And that is just so powerful. I totally agree, Karen Lynne. This is all about our life, not just a diet. So we know that a lot of times what we gauge our success off of is, what does that scale say? So all four of us were brought up on getting rid of that scale, throw the scale away. So what has getting rid of that scale, how has that been a shift for you?
Look, getting rid of the scale was the scariest thing I'd ever
Is
done.
it?
I said I had 10 years worth of journals. I could tell you what I weighed on May 20, 2006.
Like my
You know,
spreadsheet.
and I can also tell you what I ate every bite. And that to me was comfort. And so I remember thinking, well, if I don't have a scale, how am I going to know if it's working? And that was a really important question to ask. How would you know something is working? And I will argue you're better off looking at things like your energy levels, how your clothes fit, you know, whether or not you're able to climb your stairs without needing a recovery period or CPR at the top. That kind of stuff is a lot more accurate measure of health than a number on the scale, right? And because getting rid of that scale was so huge, the reason that was so huge is because that number had so much authority in my life, and it controlled my mood and my choices. Depending on whether or not that scale went up or down, dependent on how committed I was for the rest of the day, or how my attitude was toward myself and the food I ate, everything. When I weighed myself every morning, I was giving over control of my peace to something I couldn't even control.
Right.
Because the only thing I control is my behaviors. I can't control that number on the scale. And once that scale was gone, it was so exciting because I noticed things that I know I would have missed if I was looking down at the floor every morning at that number. I noticed my skin was clearer. I noticed I had less inflammation. My cravings were gone. I had much better sleep. I could move my body without pain, and I had energy that I didn't even know existed. I felt a decade younger. And I kept chasing a verdict and paying attention to what my body was actually telling me. I quit chasing that number.
Mm-hmm.
The weight on the scale is really, truly the least interesting thing about us. But we put so much weight in it.
So much authority, right?
We put so much emphasis on that number, and it has nothing to do with who we are.
It can hold so much power over us when it
shouldn't at all. Karen Lynne, your passion for what you do is so evident in the way you talk about it, and evident in your life, right? I don't think that you would coach it if your life hadn't turned around so much. I love how you talk about whole life and how, and I thought that too, what a strange thing that a nutrition program teaches me how to manage my time and to manage my household and all of this, but it makes such sense, right? Because if our life is out of control, then our health is out of control. But our actions and behaviors can change all that. So I love that. And I love how you talk about how the scale is so unimportant to who we are, but we give it so much authority. We need to stop that.
We hand over that power, and we need to take it back.
For sure.
100%.
So I know that you're a woman of faith. I am wondering, how does your faith practically shape your approach to health coaching, especially around identity and purpose and the pressure to fix your body?
Well, identity is so important. Where we place our identity determines everything about our life. And when our identity is secure, habits become an expression of care, not of punishment. And grace doesn't lower standards. It just removes the shame. And it just keeps, and the shame is what keeps women on that cycle, going through the motions and doing all things and trying the next thing. And God never intended for us to be ashamed of our bodies. He wants us to care for our bodies. And our bodies, it's not a project to fix. It's a gift from God that we are to steward. And I think that when we look at that as a gift, it changes everything because we are grateful for it. And when we count our gratitude, we get more of what we focus on, right? So when we stop and we think about our gratitude, we find more things to be grateful for.
Yes.
So that's really interesting that you talk about that, Karen Lynne. And I love that, especially when you talk about how we're ashamed of our bodies. So Karen Lynne, I know you've talked about the faith base, and I just love that because it is so true. And you talk about how we're ashamed of our body. What does it look like to not be ashamed of our body anymore?
Well, I think the shame comes when our body becomes the source of our identity, the source of our
Oh, yeah.
control, and the source of our security.
Yes.
When we take that identity and put it somewhere else, put it where it's supposed to be, then the shame just vaporizes.
That's awesome. I love that. That just hits home.
It really does.
So then, how does peace and freedom with food create space for purpose?
Space. That's the first thing I noticed. I always thought I'm way too busy for this. And I realized that, I knew I spent a lot of time thinking about food. For Pete's sakes, I had 10 years worth of food journals that takes time to write all that stuff down, to weigh and to measure, write it all down. But I had no idea how much I actually obsessed about food until I didn't have to do it anymore.
Wow.
And then it was like
Right.
my world opened up. I found that space that you referred to. When food is in a daily battle, you get that brain space back. That's the biggest gift ever. When you're not negotiating with cravings and guilt all day, suddenly you have freedom to figure out the purpose that God has for you here on earth. Because you're able to think clearly. You can show up for those dinners and eat the food that everyone else is eating
Right.
without bringing your own little meal to the table. Holidays and travel without fear and shame, because that's not what it's about. You can enjoy the gifts God's given us because he's given us food to enjoy. And we act like it's punishment. We have to eat the bland, boring
Right.
food that's gonna packaged food, and like, oh God, I've got my own meal with me, I'll throw it in the microwave. Oh, for Pete's sake, that's not real. That's not food like substances.
It's not nutrition.
Come on. But yes, with food, it's not about eating, it's about getting your life back.
I love that. And I love how you said that healing your body and fueling your body and paying attention to things is stewardship. It's not about self-correction. It's about taking care of the gift that you've been given. Bodies just want to be our friends.
That's right. And that's what they want. That's what they're longing for. And I think every time we start a new diet, every time we start a new system, we're sending our body mixed messages, and it doesn't trust.
Right.
Every relationship, including the one with our body, is built on trust.
Right.
Mhm.
And so once we start fueling our body with the right amounts, the right foods in the right proportions, and it just becomes part of who you are. Your body's like, oh, she's got it. Whoosh. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
You don't have to work so hard.
And it's suddenly dam breaks and the communicate. It's embarrassing for me to say I was 52 years old before I even realized you could listen to your body.
I think most of us have never learned that.
I thought it was all about checking things off and counting macros and doing all the things. It's remarkable. I'll never forget the day when my boys, I'm a chocolate girl. I'm all about the chocolate. And my boys were out to dinner by themselves, the two of them. And the dessert tray came around and it had this chocolate thing on it. And they said, oh my gosh, that has mom's name written all over it. So they bought it for me and brought it home. And they said, Mom, they're still thinking they know things have changed, but they're not quite sure. Is this okay now? What's going on?
Right.
They came home and they said, I hope you're not mad at us, but we brought you something, because they handed me this chocolate thing and my heart melted. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have that tonight. And I had some protein, I had some chicken breast with it, and then that was my fat and carbs. But the most beautiful thing is I ate about a third of that. It was huge, this big wedge of chocolate. I ate about a third of it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was so fantastic. Thank you, boys. I wrapped it up and I put it in the fridge. This has never happened.
Right.
I did it without even contemplating it. I just did it. And I thought, I opened up the fridge, I put it in there. What did I just do?
This is weird.
It was like, who is this woman again? It was another one of those, who is this woman things. And it was so cool because I realized I had enjoyed that. I had reached my upper echelon of enjoyment. And anything after that wasn't going to bring it up any higher.
Right.
So I could enjoy it again tomorrow
Yes.
or the next day or maybe 2 days from now, because I only ate a third of it. It was so exciting for me. And that was just thrilling. I had changed.
Wow.
When you make that realization,
And food's not the enemy. It's not bad. The cake is not bad.
Right.
It's a fat and a carb.
Right.
exactly.
Hello, it's simple. So
Yep.
That's amazing. Well, Karen Lynne, I think you are the embodiment of grit and grace and the PFC3 system and all the lessons that we learned in the 100 Days of 1%. You live it. And it is such an honor to know you and to walk beside you in this journey as we all are coaching and sharing this lovely message of freedom. So I'm wondering, how can people get in touch with you? And do you have something for our audience?
indeed, I do. If this resonated with you, I help busy women rebuild trust with food in their bodies using small, sustainable habits. And you can find me at KarenLynneKnaup.com. That's KarenLynneKnaup.com. And just starting with one change that you can repeat can make all the difference. And I also have a gift for everybody. If they want to have the 5 steps to stop dieting, we need to get out of that habit. So you can certainly grab that as well.
Definitely. And we'll link that in the show notes too, so everyone can find it, because obviously that's how you have thrived. You have finally stopped dieting and started living a healthy life. Being the healthiest person that you can be. I love that. So now we're going to do a little fun thing we love to do with our guests. We call it the lightning round. And we're just going to ask you these, just a few little quick questions, quick answers, but just so that we can get to know you on a little bit of a personal level. I'll go first. My first question is, what is your go-to breakfast when life is chaotic?
My life is always chaotic, I think. Well, not chaotic. It's always busy. My go-to breakfast every single time is, we eat every 3 to 4 hours. So I wake up in the morning on the way to the gym at 5 a.m. I have my shake or a bar, real simple. And then 3 hours later, I do an omelet with veggies and eggs and egg whites and some fruit with that. So that's my go-to every day. I love my omelet. It's the best.
Very fulfilling.
All right. So what is one habit that surprised you by making the biggest difference?
I think it's the habit of focusing on gratitude. And I think I had no idea the power that has. It just became something I did. And then when I did it, I started thinking of gratitude all day long. And like I said, you get more of what you focus on. And I realized how blessed I am in every aspect of every day. And it changed my whole outlook on life and on God.
That's so powerful. So, what about your favorite that you've experienced so far, your victory?
My favorite non-scale victory is waking up before my alarm clock. Another thing I never knew was even possible. I've always been a morning person. I've always thrived, but the whole getting out of bed thing, that was always a mountain to climb. I had 6 snooze alarms set and I knew to get up on the 6th, whatever. And suddenly I'm waking up, and I'm not waking up going, oh man, I could have slept for another 20 minutes. I'm waking up going, what are we doing today? Well, let's go. It's crazy. And when I wake up, and I think that's connected to the gratitude, I wake up just excited for the day and just looking for things to go well. It's a whole different perspective for me.
Love that. All right. One food you now enjoy without guilt that used to feel off limits.
Chocolate dessert.
That's what I was thinking.
That was probably one of the most freeing things I ever did. And the boys were thrilled because I wasn't mad at them for bringing it home, and that I actually enjoyed it. They loved it.
That's amazing. I love that story. So what's the best advice that you would give your younger self?
You don't need a new body. You need a new relationship with your body.
Ooh, that's powerful.
We should write that on a Post-it and put it on our computers. That is awesome.
And don't let anyone, especially that coach, that really affected me. And he was 23, skinny little thing. It was her first couple years coaching and whatever.
Sure.
She probably doesn't even remember making the comment.
She was learning too.
Changed, whatever.
Yeah.
You're 23. You say silly things. I'm sure I've said things that have, but that one sentence sent my life on a completely different trajectory. And so taking back that power and control. It's the same thing with the scale. Realizing that figuring out where you put your identity is really important. And so I would remind myself, keep Kim at the top of your identity. He's got your identity. It's not from a scale. It's not from a comment. That's where your identity lies.
So I have a feeling I might know how you answer this, but I really like to hear in your words, a small daily ritual that keeps you grounded.
I think, morning time. Every morning, getting in there, figuring out how I want to feel at the end of the day, vision casting how I want to feel for the rest of the day, figuring out the 3 most important things that I need to do, spending time in gratitude, and learning something new, and just making a plan. And even if I'm not always real good about sticking to the plan as written, but that's why you margin. That's
Right.
another skill. So it's all about grace. It's all about, and I'm preaching to myself right now. It's all about just realizing that tomorrow's a new day. We have new things to learn, and we'll never stop learning. So don't get mad at yourself for not knowing something, because you're never going to stop learning.
That's right.
That's wonderful. Well, Karen Lynne, your story is such a great reminder that our lives are a journey of freedom. We can make them a journey of freedom. And that's actually such good news. We're not failing. We're not learning, or we're not failing. We're learning and growing and getting better 1% at a time, right?
Indeed.
That's what resonates with us. So if Karen Lynne's story has resonated with you, I hope you heard this. You have permission to stop chasing perfection, to let go of what hasn't worked, to throw away your scale, and permission to believe that your body can respond differently when you start to support it instead of fight it.
100%. And if there's one thing we hope you take from today, it's this. There isn't anything wrong with you. Your body hasn't failed you, and it's not asking to be fixed. It's asking to be supported. There is so much hope here, because health isn't about becoming smaller. It's about becoming stronger, steadier, and more ease in your own body.
So as you go into the rest of your week, we want to invite you to notice just one small win. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it's steadier energy, a calmer choice around food, or simply listening to your body. These small moments matter. They're evidence that change is happening, even when it feels quiet or seems like it's not enough. Remember, it is enough.
And if you like this episode, please share it with a friend who's still fighting her body, because she needs this reminder. Until next time, remember, we're here to help you care for your body with wisdom, show up with grit when it matters, and remind you to extend yourself grace along the way, because health is not about perfection. It's about a partnership. This is the Health Coach Hotline, Glucose, Grit, and Grace. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everyone.